The furnace fan stopped exactly 4 hours ago, and your house didn't get quiet so much as it started holding its breath. That's the first alarm bell in a blackout. Not the darkness, not the dead Wi-Fi, not even the group chat going silent like everyone collectively remembered they never memorized anyone's phone number. It's the moment your home, the place you thought was a fortress, becomes a refrigerated display case with your name on the glass. The thermostat is still on, glowing proudly like it's doing something important, showing a number that belongs in a morgue, not a living room. Your cell signal didn't fade. It just died with the towers. Like modern civilization was a toddler who fell asleep mid-tantrum and took the whole internet down with it. And down the street, your neighbor Steve is dragging a propane patio heater into his foyer with the confidence of a man who once assembled IKEA furniture without reading the manual and thinks that makes him an engineer. Steve is about to commit the kind of mistake people only make once because the sequel doesn't get greenlit. Here's what most people get wrong when the cold shows up. They think survival is about making heat. They get this heroic pioneer fantasy. Fire equals life. Fire equals victory. Fire equals rugged competence. No. Fire equals fuel, and fuel equals time, and time is the only currency that matters when everything else stops working. Fire also equals attention. In a desperate neighborhood, attention is not a compliment. It's a targeting system. Real winter survival isn't you heating your house. That's what people with functioning infrastructure do. When the grid goes down, the game changes. The game becomes, how do you steal heat back from the universe long enough to stay alive? Not cozy, alive. Comfort is a luxury brand that went out of business the second the lights did. So stop trying to keep 2,000 square feet at sweater weather. That mindset is how you burn through resources like a millionaire at a casino. Except the casino is your own body, and the dealer is thermodynamics, and the house always wins. Trying to heat an entire home with one tiny heat source is like trying to boil the ocean with a match and then acting surprised when the ocean doesn't clap for you. Here's the brutal truth. Your house is actively trying to kill you. It is designed to exchange energy with the outside world. When the outside world becomes an icebox, your house becomes an enthusiastic collaborator. So you don't live in your house anymore. You live in a box inside your house. Pick the smallest room you can tolerate existing in without losing your mind. A bedroom. A home office you once used twice and then turned into a storage unit for guilt. Drag mattresses in. Stack blankets. Hang thick fabric over the doorway like you're trying to keep out vampires. Or worse, your landlord. You are not setting up. You are creating a nest. A burrow. A human-sized survival capsule. Now make it smaller. Yes, smaller than the smallest room. Build a fort inside the room. Chairs, couch cushions, blankets, anything that makes an inner chamber where the air doesn't move. Congratulations. You've returned to childhood, but with higher stakes and fewer juice boxes. Your brain will complain because it's used to having space. Ignore it. Your body doesn't care about pride. It cares about heat retention. And the science is insulting in how simple it is. Volume. Air volume. Your body is a little furnace all by itself, making heat constantly. In normal conditions, you throw that heat away without noticing. In a blackout, that heat is suddenly the difference between uncomfortable and this is how people vanish quietly. In a big room, your heat disperses into a cold ocean of air. In a tight enclosure, your heat loops back to you. It doesn't solve winter. It slows the loss. That's all survival is. Slowing the loss long enough for the situation to change. This is the Russian nesting doll of poverty. A box inside a box inside a box. Except instead of cute wooden dolls, it's blankets, mattresses, and the slow realization that your open concept floor plan was a terrible idea the moment society stopped delivering electricity on subscription. Now, let's talk about the things in your house that are not features anymore. Windows. Windows are not architecture. Windows are thermal injuries. Glass is basically a polite, transparent hole that says, "Hello, cold air. Come take whatever you want. Touch the glass." It feels like ice, because it practically is. That sensation is heat leaving your body through conduction. Your skin isn't feeling cold. Your skin is watching its heat get robbed and reporting the crime too late. Your mission is to kill the window. Not dramatically. Not with a bat. You're not reenacting a crime show. You're suffocating it thermally. You want dead air trapped against that glass, because dead air is the unsung hero of insulation. It's not magic, it's the absence of movement. Moving air carries heat away. Still, air just sits there and takes orders. If you have bubble wrap, it becomes premium building material overnight. If you don't, then congratulations. You're about to understand why cardboard is the secret backbone of the entire economy. Cardboard, towels, spare clothing, old curtains you hated, even when the world was functioning, anything thick and layered becomes a defensive wall. The concept is consistent. Create trapped air. Seal gaps. Reduce drafts. Even if your solution looks ugly, ugly is warm. Aesthetics are for people with power plants. And yes, the price is psychological. You lose the view. You lose sunlight. You lose the illusion that everything is normal. But in this situation, normal is a lie your brain tells itself to avoid panic. You can have a dark room, or you can have a frozen one. Pick your poison. Now, before you get cocky and decide your blanket fortress makes you a winter warlord, let's deal with the second major leak. You. People love to talk about gear in emergencies because it makes them feel prepared. They imagine there's a magic item, some expensive jacket, some tactical thing with 20 pockets that flips the survival switch. But the truth is less glamorous and more effective. You need to understand how clothing actually works, and then you need to accept that you might look ridiculous for the next few days. Rule 1. Cotton is a traitor. Cotton feels nice when life is normal. When life is not normal, cotton becomes a damp little conspiracy against your core temperature. If you sweat in cotton, it holds moisture. Moisture pulls heat away from you fast. This is why people get cold even when they're wearing a lot. They're wearing a sponge. In a blackout, cotton is the outfit equivalent of writing your own resignation letter. What you want is material that stays warm even if it gets a little wet, and layers that trap air. Wool is good. Synthetics can be good. The exact brand matters less than the physics. You are trying to keep warm air close to your skin and keep sweat from turning into a heat-stealing liquid blanket. And then you do the most powerful survival tactic modern society tries to beat out of you. You become trash. Yes, trash. You stuff crumpled paper, dry leaves, spare fabric, anything that stays dry and creates pockets of still air between layers. It's not fashion. It's insulation. You will look like a scarecrow that lost a fight with a recycling bin. But the pockets of trapped air are what matter. Insulation is not warm material. Insulation is air that can't move. So if you look stupid, but you stay warm, you win. Now let's talk about the part your brain hates: calories and mood. Cold doesn't just attack your fingers and toes. Cold attacks your decision-making. It makes you tired, irritable, and weirdly optimistic about bad ideas. This is how people end up doing things like taking a quick nap while underdressed, or just trying something with a heat source because it sounds comforting. Cold is a mental tax. It reduces you. So build a routine. Not because routines are cute, but because routines keep you from spiraling into the kind of panic that makes you wander around the house, opening doors to check something and dumping precious warmth into the hallway like you're tossing cash out a moving car. Keep your movements deliberate. Stay in your small zone. If you have multiple people, assign jobs in a calm, boring way. Somebody monitors supplies. Somebody keeps track of who's getting too cold. Somebody makes sure the fort stays sealed. Disaster response isn't dramatic. It's repetitive. The dramatic part is what happens when people stop being repetitive. And here's a weird psychological trick that actually matters. Keep one corner of your space for not survival. A book, a deck of cards, a dumb little game. Something that reminds your brain you're still a human being and not just a meat engine trying to keep its fluids above freezing. People don't just die from cold. They die from the choices they make when they stop believing they can make it. Now, heat storage. Heat is not only about generating it, it's about holding it. Water is a stubborn hoarder of heat energy. It takes a lot to warm up, but once it's warm, it refuses to let go quickly. If you have a brief window where you can safely heat water, whether that's an intact system, a temporary safe heat source, or residual warmth from earlier warm water, becomes a battery you can carry. You put warm water into sturdy containers, wrap them so they don't burn your skin, and keep them near your core, near the places blood runs close to the surface. Underarms, groin area, between the thighs. This isn't superstition. It's anatomy. You're heating the blood highways, not the fingertips. Be careful with anything that isn't designed for high temperatures. The goal is warmth, not chemical roulette. If you can't trust a container, don't gamble with it. Survival is not the time for it, it's probably fine. Also, hydration still matters. Cold can trick you into drinking less because you don't feel thirsty, but your body still loses water through breathing, and dehydration makes you colder and dumber. Cold is already trying to make you dumber. Do not help it. Now, the snow thing. Because someone always gets cute. Do not eat snow to hydrate. Snow is not a beverage, it's a heat sink. Putting snow into your body forces you to spend energy turning it into water. That energy comes from you. In extreme cold, you don't have spare energy. If you must use snow, melt it first outside your body so physics does the work instead of your metabolism. And while you're busy engineering your blanket bunker like a broke NASA program, remember, you're not the only one freezing. The neighborhood is a pressure cooker in slow motion. People will start okay. Then they'll start hungry. Then they'll start scared. Then they'll start rationalizing. Desperate people do not think in moral philosophy. They think in shortcuts. If your house looks cozy, if light leaks out like a beacon, you're not inviting help. You're advertising resources. Modern society trained everyone to outsource discomfort. When that outsourcing fails, people go hunting for the nearest replacement. If they think you have heat, you become the replacement. And this is where the blackout gets weirdly theatrical. Because your best defense might be something petty and clever, looking dead. But we'll get to that. Because before we talk about camouflage and the predators that come with it, you need to understand something about the most dangerous temptation in a winter blackout: the urge to cheat with a quick, easy heat source. The kind of shortcut that makes Steve feel like a genius right up until the story ends for him. So keep your fort tight, keep your air still, keep your layers smart, keep your mind occupied. And keep your confidence in check, because the cold doesn't care how tough you think you are. It only respects physics. Now we talk about camouflage, because survival isn't just about staying warm. It's also about staying uninteresting. In the first day or two, people pretend everything is temporary. They tell themselves the power will be back any minute, like the grid runs on optimism and customer service smiles. By day 3, the tone shifts. You can feel it. The neighborhood stops being a collection of families and starts becoming a collection of needs. Needs turn into pressure. Pressure turns into bad decisions. And bad decisions are loud. If your house looks alive, you become a point of interest. If it looks dead, you become background scenery. Background scenery doesn't get kicked in. Background scenery doesn't get robbed. Background scenery gets ignored while everyone goes hunting for a miracle somewhere else. So seal your blackout curtains. Not mostly closed, not a little gap for morale, no light leaks. Light is a beacon. Light says, "Hello, I have energy resources." In a crisis, that's basically a billboard that reads free stuff inside. Please visit after you've lost all self-control. But here's the petty genius move. Let your windows look cold. Frost is your friend. A lived-in warm house tends to melt frost patterns, at least slightly, or creates telltale clearing. A house that's dead stays uniformly cold. You want the outside to look like a tomb. You want someone walking by to glance at your frozen glass, feel the wind bite their face, and think, nobody's in there. Not worth it. It sounds cynical, because it is. But in a resource crash, deception is a real security system. It runs on 0 calories and doesn't break down because you forgot to pay a subscription. Looking poor is sometimes safer than looking prepared. Looking dead is safer than looking cozy. Now, we need to talk about the most common way people lose this game. They bring fire indoors like it's a warm little pet, and then it murders them quietly. Someone will drag a charcoal grill into the kitchen. Someone will run a generator in the garage with the door cracked. Someone will set up a propane heater in a closed room because they saw a guy online do it while selling a discount code. Someone will decide the danger is exaggerated because they can't smell anything weird. And those people will go to sleep warm and not wake up. Carbon monoxide is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't smell. It doesn't make you cough like smoke does. It just steals oxygen's seat in your blood and sits there with a smug grin. Your blood cells can carry oxygen, or they can carry carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide wins that contest so hard it's embarrassing. That means you can be breathing fresh air and still suffocate at the cellular level. You don't flail, you don't panic properly, you just get sleepy. And then the story ends. So here is the harsh rule. If you burn anything indoors, you ventilate. Period. Yes, cracking a window wastes heat. Yes, it feels like betrayal after you spent hours building your insulation fortress. But losing some heat is better than losing consciousness and becoming a cautionary tale. You can rebuild warmth. You cannot negotiate with a corpse. And don't do the Steve thing dragging a propane patio heater inside like it's a heroic solution. That's not survival. That's swapping one problem for a fatal one because you wanted the fastest comfort available. Comfort is what kills people in emergencies. Comfort makes you ignore risk. Now let's get even more brutal. The goal isn't heating the air. The goal is heating the biological machine. Your body is the asset. Everything else is scenery. Think about it like this. You don't need your entire room warm. You need your core warm. Your brain, heart, and lungs need to keep operating. Fingers are negotiable. Toes are negotiable. Pride is negotiable. But core temperature is the line between miserable and medically irreversible. This is why that small space strategy works. You're not trying to create a tropical climate. You're trying to reduce the rate at which your body bleeds energy into the cold environment. Every draft you stop is time purchased. Every layer that traps dead air is time purchased. Every dumb-looking insulation trick is time purchased. And here's the part modern society never taught you because it's not profitable. You can't win against winter. You can only refuse to lose fast. Thermodynamics is a set of laws with no empathy. Heat moves from hot to cold. That's it. There is no exception for, but I have work tomorrow, or, but I paid my bills. The universe wants you to equalize with the blizzard outside. Your entire job is to be an insult to that process. A stubborn, layered, sealed-up insult. Now, let's add something most survival advice skips because it's not as cinematic. Ventilation and humidity management inside your little fort. When you create a tight, sealed space, your breath and moisture build up. That can make things feel warmer in the short term, but too much humidity is a long-term enemy. Moist air can make insulation less effective, dampen clothing, and contribute to condensation that freezes where you really don't want it. The fix isn't open everything. The fix is controlled airing out. Brief, strategic venting during the warmest part of the day, or when you can do it without advertising light and movement. You're balancing heat retention with moisture control, like a depressed submarine captain who also has to manage laundry. Also, keep your sleeping setup smart. The ground steals heat. Floors are thieves. If you sleep directly on a cold floor, you might as well hug a block of ice all night. Elevate yourself with mattresses, couch cushions, folded blankets, anything that puts insulation between you and the floor. If you have multiple people, sleeping closer together can help, because shared body heat is real physics, not romance. This is not a movie. This is not cute. This is heat budgeting. Now, a new scenario that modern life has created, the influencer survival instinct. In every disaster, there will be someone who thinks the move is to document everything. A TikToker in a zombie apocalypse wouldn't barricade the door first. They'd do a reaction shot, then a day in my life during societal collapse montage, then accidentally show their exact location in a reflection. In a blackout winter, that same mindset turns your house into a lighthouse. If you are posting updates, live streaming, or even just keeping your phone screen on near windows, you are creating light leaks and information leaks. The apocalypse doesn't need your content. It needs your silence. If you must use devices, dim them. Keep them covered. Treat every photon as a signal flare. Now we return to the neighborhood problem: desperation and social engineering. In the early phase, people ask nicely. Later, they ask loudly. Eventually, they don't ask. Do not confuse friendly with safe. A person can be polite and still be gathering information. Who has heat? Who has food? Who looks stable? Who looks like a resource? So set boundaries early, even if you hate conflict. A simple, we're conserving resources is fine. Don't over-explain. Over-explaining is a nervous habit that gives away details. Also, don't open the door for long conversations. Doorways are heat leaks and tactical mistakes. If you must communicate, do it briefly, through a barrier, and without showing your setup. You're not being cruel. You're managing risk. Now, the other killer besides carbon monoxide: exhaustion. Cold stress burns calories. Shivering is not just shivering. It's your body running an emergency generator. If you have food, eat it strategically. Small, regular intake can be better than one big meal followed by long gaps, because your body needs steady fuel to keep temperature regulation functioning. If you have warm drinks that are safe, they help morale and provide short-term warmth, but don't confuse them with a permanent solution. Warm liquid is a candle in a windstorm if you don't also solve insulation. And sleep is not optional. Sleep is when your brain resets and your decision-making gets repaired. Without sleep, you'll start making Steve-level choices. But you need to sleep safely warm enough, insulated from the floor, and without any fuel-burning device running in your sleeping area. Now, let's close the loop and explain why you make it when others don't. You didn't try to heat the whole house like a suburban king demanding central heating from a dead grid. You downsized your world and controlled it. You turned your home into zones, then turned the zones into a nest, then turned the nest into an insult to heat loss. You made still air your ally. You treated windows like leaks, not scenery. You dressed for physics, not fashion. You stored heat where it matters: in water, in bedding, in layers, in your core. You kept your house looking cold to outsiders. You didn't advertise. You didn't glow. You didn't become the loot drop. And most importantly, you didn't do the two things that kill people fastest in blackouts. You didn't panic, and you didn't cheat. Panic makes you scatter energy. Cheat makes you gamble with invisible death. So when the cold settles in like it owns the place, and the neighborhood starts to shift from polite discomfort into hungry calculation, you stay boring. You stay sealed. You stay efficient. You stop trying to be comfortable, because comfort is a pre-collapse concept. You don't need victory, you need stubbornness. The cold is patient. Be more patient.